Hey everyone, welcome back to CryptoCache. Thank you so much for joining me here today. This is your one-stop shop for cryptocurrency analysis, among many other things. We're taking a look here today at QKC, which was a big request from my community members. I haven't gotten this many requests in a long time. So, we'll take a quick look at the charts. I have no idea what we're getting into here, but just know this is a technical analysis only. There's no fundamentals, but I'm speculating with the increase that I've heard that this is having, that there's likely a fundamental catalyst. So do your own research, of course. I always recommend that. I'm not a financial advisor either. I just have years of trading experience, over 15 essentially, and my goal is to help you become more of a profitable trader. So if you're interested in that, I actually have a very awesome trading community that you can become part of. Link in the description below. I have a video kind of explaining what that's about. Check that out in your own time, but it's a really cool experience. Been pretty awesome so far. Again, that's half the reason why I'm covering this video. Most of these videos that I make are for my patrons because they make requests and I like to fulfill that and get you what you need, right? So I hope you find benefit here today. One last little tip of advice here is the fact that if you like my trading style, great, take what you can from it, but develop your own trading style as well and learn as much as you can from as many people as possible. It's important to remain very diverse in your trading and not to get stubborn and stuck in the same thing. So be open to change and learn as much as you can, and I hope I can facilitate a good learning environment for you here today. Let's get into it. Let's check out the charts. All right, folks, let's go and take a look here at QuarkChain, QKC. Doesn't roll off the tongue very well, but it's quirky, right? That's how it goes. And needless to say, we're going to take a look here at Bitcoin and Ethereum first just to get a quick understanding where the market's at, and then obviously move into the coin here of choice, at least the request that I get from most people. I got a massive amount of requests for this here today, so that is the main reason to cover it. I've covered it before as well, so be excited to see what's going on with it now. I actually have no clue. I haven't looked at it yet. So first of all, what we want to do is look at Bitcoin and Ethereum first. Just to preface, I'll use TradingView.com desktop application. Link in the description below for a free month if you're interested. It really helps you try before you buy because you do need to have more than 2 indicators present at any given time. That's why the paid version is better, just because it's better to be able to do a thorough analysis with more than 2 indicators. I have about 5 or 6 that are my favorites, usually only 2 per time frame, but I'll show you that in a moment. Now for Bitcoin, here's what we're looking at. We're above both moving averages. We got the 50 and the 200. Price is well above, all good. We got the price holding pretty firm, pretty steady at 53,800. That's a strong support. We can also see on the 1-day chart, we have a bullish harami that basically is showing whenever we have a bullish harami bounce off the support level, it's a pretty strong indication of a return back to the upside. In other words, I think it's pretty likely we're going to see a green weekend. All things considered, with the fear, uncertainty, and doubt dissipating, we should probably see some type of increase this weekend. I'm banking on it. Honestly, actually, I have a signal out right now with my patrons in my signal community to ensure that we take some profits here this weekend. I think it's important to consider taking entry because it's probably going to be a green weekend. I'm excited to see that. Regardless, back to the 4-hour chart. Just to quickly note, we have a secondary support at exactly 52,600. That is a good support level as well. It's going to be able to work as a secondary support in case we do lose that. But generally speaking, there's that $1,200 channel between 52.6 and 53.8 that essentially works. It could work as a support channel. But for right now, I don't think we're going to see the price come back down below 53.8. It's been holding very strong for quite some time now. We've had what? We had 6 4-hour candlesticks already where the price has come down there and rejected and bounced off. So all good things here for Bitcoin. So expect some good stuff. Same thing with Ethereum as well. I drew this on my last review here. Simply put, we've got the price over both moving averages, but there is an ascending wedge pattern forming here where you can see it's trying to break out above this resistance level at about 3,600 roughly. It's like 3,650, 3,630, but it's going to break through that soon. My speculation is if we get Bitcoin to increase closer to 56,000 this weekend, Ethereum will take off and start hitting up 37, 3,800 to try to kind of push up to its previous resistance level, roughly around 4,000. So just be ready for that. I think Ethereum's ready to kind of take off. Speaking of taking off, holy cow. Wow, look at that. No kidding. Okay. I can see why I got a lot of requests. Look at that. From bottom to top, 102% in less than 24 hours. That is pretty significant. We want to look and see. I mean, I don't know why this happened. Obviously, it's probably some kind of fundamental catalyst. Anytime we see this kind of volume, which is quite significant. I mean, it basically just obliterates any previous volume that we've seen. Just totally disappears in the wake of this this 1 4-hour candlestick. But generally speaking, yeah, looking pretty significant. All right, so let's just go ahead and do our thing. Let's go ahead and start with a 1 day chart, work our way down, and kind of see what happened here. So first of all, it's pretty obvious. Price is above both moving averages, right? Not much else to disseminate there. We're going to have a strong convergence on the MACD that actually occurred a while back. We're looking on the second. So 6 days ago, we got a convergence in the MACD. That would have been a great time to get in. I know it's easier said than done now, of course. Hindsight's 2020, but had you used the MACD convergence here on QKC, you would be looking pretty dang good. You would have definitely made some profits there. Anyways, the RSI is well over 70. This is not a great sign. I mean, I think we're going to probably see some type of retracement here from QKC. I would be surprised if it continued to increase just based on the simple fact that it's shot up so quickly. But doesn't mean that it won't. I mean, we could still see some sideways action, maybe a second leg up. But unless we see some type of consolidation, I'm a little concerned that this will kind of just keep decreasing, right? Because that's a really strong increase. But again, I'm more conservative myself personally, so I don't like to buy when something's high. I know that seems crazy because sometimes things just keep going and going. But a coin like this, there's more than meets the eye. Not to quote Transformers on you, but I can tell you that the price is yeah, there's something going on. We want to look at the fundamentals. I recommend doing that. This isn't on my scope personally for fundamentals. I don't know anything about this coin. We're only looking at the technical charts here, but let's go ahead and mark some resistance levels and kind of see what's going on. So we got a resistance here. It almost hit. It almost rejected there at about 5.2, if I'm seeing that correctly. Yeah, about 5.2 cents. Secondary resistance, which it did reject off of here, is at about 5.01. So kind of a little bit of a channel there. So if it could break above and hold above, we might see that work as a support. But for right now, obvious resistance, considering the fact that it has trouble breaking that level. But I can see why it has trouble breaking that level on a 1 day chart, because this is obviously too much movement for 1 day. Parabolic increases have at least a 50 to 60% retracement. So if you're in the profit right now, I might recommend considering at least trimming your position, sell half your position. That's what I would do, just based on the simple fact that we could expect a retracement to come back down. I would say somewhere in the 50% range. And I'm just pulling a number out of a hat, but on average, any retracement I see after a parabolic increase like this, it has to go, so it almost always corrects itself halfway. It may not right away, but over the next coming days, we should see it kind of average itself out down around there, right around what, 0.035, so about 3.5 cents. That coincides with it spent a lot of time here too. If you look at this support and resistance zone here, there is a lot of action right around this point. So I wouldn't be surprised if the price comes down to that point there, okay? Moving on to the 4-hour chart. So let's go ahead and take a look here. So yeah, it's ramping up again. Let's see what's going on. We did have and this is pretty standard, of course, when the price increases that fast. It's going to happen. It would have happened eventually, but we can see a golden cross here. I don't foresee that being the exact reason this took off. It has a lot to do with other things. In fact, this golden cross probably wouldn't have happened if it wasn't for this, right? It probably would have taken a few more days, but that could be factoring in a little bit. I don't think that's the reason, but it does happen sometimes that way. RSI is well over 70, kind of staying there. And here's a cool thing. I don't know if you can see this here, where previously when it was, this is considered bullish convergence, right? When the price is above 70, or sorry, above 50 and below 70 on the RSI. When it breaks above 70 though, and it stays above like it is right now, that's almost going to work. 70 is going to work as a support level. So there's a strong chance we could see the support or 70 work as a support moving forward, where the price comes down, or at least the RSI comes down and bounces off that. But that will also potentially mean that we could see a slow taper down to that support level there and bounce off. Yeah, or it could just keep going crazy bonkers here and break its all-time high, close above in the next hour and a half, and that would be considered a new support level. And then we're going to start seeing some pretty interesting things moving forward, where it's going to be in uncharted territory. Right now, we at least have a ceiling we're shooting for. When it breaks that ceiling, it could be out there. But the fact that there's so much volume in 1 day and there was so little volume previously leads me to believe there's something very significant. It's either it was introduced to another exchange, which is unlikely because this is such a big movement. That probably wouldn't be the case. It was probably just, I would say a lot of volume from one specific investor. And now that volume, because what happened is this first candlestick is probably from that first initial push, right? And these next candlesticks here, these are all people like you and I getting in on the action. These are the FOMOs right here. So just be aware of that. That's why retracements occur almost 50% of the way, because after we push the price up like this, the person or whomever, the entity that drove the price up in the first place, they have to take all their profits and drive it back down. That's why it comes down 50%, because people like you and I are left hodling a coin that is extremely overpriced, and we bought it at a too high of a price, right? So just keep that in mind. This is very well what's going on. That's why I try to avoid coins like this that have just a low, I mean, not to say low market cap coins. That's not bad, because this is in the 200s, but just a simple fact that when there's low volume, there's more volatility, and that things like this happen. You're more so gambling when you do this. I don't prefer to gamble when I trade. So just a thought, throwing it out there. All right, let's look at the 1 hour chart. So this is a little bit better. I like this. We had a slight retracement there. So what happens is we saw the price come up, came over for about 2 hours, and ramp back up again. So that's a pretty steep increase, but it is still somewhat of a staircase pattern. It came down here, and now we're seeing another leg back up. So I honestly can't make I can't determine if I like this or not, because normally you'd like to see more of a break in between, but instead of a large break here, it just ramped up again, and then it has a longer kind of cooling off period here. So it's interesting. I don't know if I love this or not. I personally feel like if it were to continue to push up here to its all-time high range, we're going to see it come back down a lot faster. So be very surprised this breaks its all-time high here. I would love to see that, of course, because I like to see interesting things happen. But just based on the natural law of trading, this shouldn't go much further. Again, I hope it does, because this is really cool and really exciting when this happens. But just keep in mind, don't get greedy, right? Take profits while you still can. That's always my recommendation. My patrons can attest to that. So thank you so much to my patrons again for bringing this to my attention. These are always really a lot of fun to look at. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a quick look at the Ichimoku. I mean, big surprise, the price is above it. It's been above for a while. Don't even need to bother with that. Just bear in mind it could work as a support level, so if the price comes over here and doesn't retrace further, it could bounce off the Ichimoku cloud and continue upwards. That does happen sometimes. In fact, Bitcoin did that the last couple of days, and we were able to take some profits off that because of that specific situation, because it kept holding above. That's when a good bull run is in good shape, and you have a continuation of a bull run, is when the Ichimoku cloud is working as a support. It's really awesome. So TD sequential, take a quick look here. Not much to really extract except for the fact that we hit a 9, right? So if you're new to TD sequential, here's the bullet points of the bumper sticker, right? When you hit a 9, it's essentially considered a retracement, or it's going to retrace or consolidate, which is done. This is actually very good. This is healthy, because in the last, just say 10 to 12 hours, we've seen QKC kind of go sideways. That's why we see this next leg up here, and that's why this is happening right now, because it's had enough time to breathe, right? Because in other words, when you have a 9 on TD sequential, that's 9 hours. Again, on the 1 hour chart, that's the best time to use it, by the way. You have 9 hours of straight bullish momentum, right? And this was a pretty strong bullish push, right? I mean, you think about that, that's 92% in 9 hours. So every 1 hour is increasing by 10% on average, right? That's way too much. That being said, when you have that when the price is well outside that standard deviation, it has to come back down and collapse. But now it's finally kind of calmed down and relaxed, so it can leg up again. So I'm actually kind of liking this now that I see this. The 1 hour chart is not terrible. This period of consolidation makes me happy, because it does give us opportunity to be able to see another leg up. Especially if Bitcoin can kind of ramp up to 56,000 this weekend, which I think it's likely going to do, then we could actually see QKC break its all-time high and essentially establish that as a support level, right? Just keep in mind the 1 day chart. You have to understand this. If it's on the 1 day chart, and this line does not close above either of these two lines, right? In other words, this candlestick can't close above either of those two. That's considered a resistance, and that might hold the price down, right? So it's really important to note that. But yeah, I like this here. This is really cool. This is a good little reset. We'll see what the 15-minute tells us here. The reason why I like this here is just based on the fact that with the 15-minute chart, we can look at EMA and VWAP. And the VWAP is going to work as a support level, right? So that's this blue line here. This continuous blue line that works with the price action. It takes the volume the last 24 hours and expresses it as a price. So it takes all the volume in the last 24 hours, which has been substantial, and it tells us that that's where the price should be. So right now, based on the volume, we should see about 3.8 cents, whereas the price is upwards of 4.7 cents. So that's a pretty high deviation. I'm fairly confident that's Yep, right around 20-25%. A little too high, honestly. Which is why if you look back here, you see how high this was up here? That was about 35%. So it had to come back down, right? It's inevitable. It's like there's a gravity with trading that has to happen, and it's all based on the volume. That's just why the volume is probably the most underrated metric out there. And the VWAP is a very, very helpful day traders tool, but it can still be used for swing trading if you're kind of trying to find a good entry point. So here's kind of just what I'm getting at. The standard deviation lines, right? Volume at average price has these lines outside and above and below the VWAP, basically telling you if it goes outside of that deviation, it's going to eventually come back down, right? So you can see right here, it pushed too high for its bridges, came back down, corrected itself. Pushed too high, came back down. Same thing as well, it keeps pushing it down. So right now, with it being up like this, there's a decent chance it'll come back down, or at least go sideways for a little bit longer to allow for this VWAP line to kind of come up, price action kind of stay in and continue upwards. So that's what we're hoping for. So just bear in mind, we're not out of the clouds yet, but it's actually fairly healthy, all things considered. We're above EMA and VWAP. We've got a signal right here giving us a buy signal, telling us that we have 30 minutes of confirmation above EMA and VWAP. That's like one of my principal foundations of day trading, is to look at that on the 15-minute chart. That's when you want to consider taking entry. So a lot of good things here from QKC. Is just that it's extremely overbought, if you will, right? I mean, we look at RSI, every RSI is over 70, which isn't terrible. It's just that we need a little bit more consolidation to feel that, allow that to kind of happen or come to fruition as far as breaking its all-time high. So will it break this all-time high? Right now, I would say probably not in the next 2 hours, when this, because this candlestick has less than 2 hours to close on the one-day chart. But I would say in the next few days, it might be very likely, just based on the simple fact that we have a nice period of consolidation here on the 1 hour chart. This is very nice. I like this right here. I just don't love this, right? That came up too fast, too quick. So just, again, something to be aware of. This doesn't mean it's going to happen, but I mean, generally speaking, this is kind of breaking all the barriers, so to speak. But it explains why this next leg up right here that we're seeing is happening, just based on the simple fact that we have a nice period of consolidation. So we may very well see, according to TD sequential, which is typically very accurate, we could see another 7 hours of bullish momentum, bullish continuation. Okay, just bear that in mind. So hold on tight. I recommend setting your stop loss no lower than 3.5 cents, just to be on the safe side in case it comes retracing back down. You at least take some of your profits. But take some profits while you still can. That's always a recommendation of mine. But note that this does have potential to continue. So it's kind of one of those funny ones where it's almost a flip of a coin, because all the normal stuff you'd say to be like, no, don't invest in this, it's kind of doing the opposite of that. However, it's so overextended that I'm concerned with the fact that it could retrace soon, right? So there's some conflicting information, seriously. But either way, I hope you are careful and be safe and be smart. Just don't be afraid to adjust your stop loss as you take profit. Continue to increase that, and always, before every trade, I recommend this to my patrons as well, is to ensure that you always set a target before you get in. Every single signal that I send to my community members, by the way, if you're not familiar with my channel, I actually have a signal group where I send out signals for every single trade that I take, and I provide you with entry targets, sell targets, essentially just general best practice. But everything that I shoot for, I always have 3 profit targets, and you need to make sure that before you get into a trade what you want to get out of it. Because if you don't have that scope of understanding, you're going to hold on for too long, and your diamond hands are going to turn, cloudy, I guess you could say. Is that what happens with diamonds? I don't know. All I'm saying is just be smart and set realistic, expectations for yourself that work within your risk tolerance. Okay. Either way, I hope you found benefit here today, and this didn't provide more questions than answers. But I can tell you, if we do break that all-time high on the one-day chart, likely tomorrow more so than today, then we will see some pretty interesting things here, some obvious new all-time highs, and some pretty interesting stuff. So I think QKC is on the radar for a lot of people now, and it's interesting. So best of luck if you're interested in investing. If you're already invested, take your profits while you still can. Hope you have a great rest of your day. We'll look forward to talking to you and see you in the next video. Have a great one. Thank you.